Hey, everyone. I am so excited for you to hear about my guest today on Women In. It is Tony Will. But before I tell you about my amazing guest, let me tell you what you're listening to. Women In is a podcast that celebrates women from all walks of life and the people who uplift them. Each episode features incredible voices from my world, sharing stories that spark inspiration, challenge the status quo, and remind us that empowering women empowers everyone. This is a bold, curious, and uncensored space where disruption is welcome, forward thinking is encouraged, and change is the goal. I'm passionate about breaking down barriers, not just for us, but for the next generation. Whether our paths cross professionally or personally, these conversations matter. Let's dive in and celebrate the power of connection, growth, and the people who are shaping our world. And here is one of the amazing people, women shaping our world. Sarah Bolor is a licensed clinical social worker in Nevada and Montana and founder of Say It Mental Health, where she helps high-achieving women break free from burnout, perfectionism, and people-pleasing so they can succeed without sacrificing their mental health. With over a decade of experience, Sarah blends clinical expertise with a bold, relatable approach that empowers women to set boundaries, quiet negative self-talk, and create lives that feel as good on the inside as they look on the outside. Before entering into private practice, she built her career across diverse areas of social work, including foster care, acute medical settings, the public defender's office, hospice care, and crisis response following October 1 mass shooting in Las Vegas. These experiences shaped her perspective and fuel her passion for guiding ambitious women from survival mode to sustainable success. Hey, Sarah, how are you?
I'm good. How are you doing?
I'm so good. I'm so happy to have you on Women In. I always ask the first question beyond the how are you, which is tell everyone how you and I came into each other's lives.
So we were introduced by Cassidy Owen of Cassidy Lynn Social Media Management Company. She's the gal that does my social media, and she just thought that this would be a great connection, put us together on an email, and here we are.
Yeah, Cassidy's phenomenal. She was a guest, as Sarah mentioned, on Women In, and we have really hit it off on a lot of levels. And I really respect the work she's doing, and she's doing work for you as well as a woman entrepreneur. So I want to start. You have quite, like, reading your bio, I want to hear about your career progression because you know, social work, there's hospice care, there's a lot of taking care of and healing, and then into entrepreneurship, which is in that same vein, but working for yourself. So I'm going to let you start where it makes the most sense for you, but tell me about your career progression and what has led you to ultimately being an entrepreneur.
Sure. So I have my undergraduate degree and master's in social work. And while I was in grad school, I was working within the foster care system here in Las Vegas. And kind of just my first introduction into social service, kind of my first introduction into working with others and helping others. And it was actually a really small company that I worked for that I saw grow over time. So as that was kind of my first idea of, oh, this could be a business and I can help people, which I didn't know could coexist. I always kind of thought, oh, my traditional social work jobs are going to be like for the county or so for some larger corporations. And then I moved on and gained experience in the acute hospital setting, which is just great, right? So we're working in one of the busiest hospitals in Las Vegas, and I learned how to talk to people and interact with people who were experiencing other issues, in addition to having medical stuff go on as well. Mm-hmm. Fast forward, I moved to Boston, lived there, worked for the public defender's office, and that was life-changing.
Mm. Yeah. So tell me about working for the public defender's office. What is that like? What was your role? What were you doing?
So I was a social service advocate in the Roxbury-Dorchester community of Boston. And it was so great. It was so great to work in a law firm, essentially, as a social service advocate and connecting their clients with services to help mitigate any cases or issues that were going on in their life, right? Individuals would be charged with a offense, and then we would work to just kind of help them throughout that process or advocate for them to engage in services. And work with their family members and things like that. And so I just learned a lot about myself. I learned a lot about the judicial system. I learned a lot about what was important to me.
Yeah, what I was going to say, you said it was life changing, and it sounds like that's some of the how. So what did you find out was like important to you as you continue to move forward in your career?
That the judicial system is not always fair.
Mm.
I think that was like my biggest takeaway. Um, there's definitely individuals who had an ongoing experience, like an ongoing reoccurring history in the judicial system, and kind of learning and seeing firsthand what they were facing and how they were dealing with that on a daily basis. I think it just gave me so much more perspective than my other positions.
Yeah, and might I say maybe a little more jaded, and not in a bad way, but
Yeah.
your eyes are open. We're not as
Yeah.
naive.
Yeah, absolutely. And just to realize it's not always fair and there's a lot that goes into it. And these communities have faced a lot of adversity. And I think it's really important for more people to know about that. I
Hmm.
think we would be better as a community if more people understood what that was like.
Yeah. So what brought you're back in Vegas now. So you were in
Yeah.
Boston. So tell me about that next stage. You did this life-changing work. And now you're back on the other side of the country. So tell me more.
Yeah. So my husband and I, my husband's from here and our families now live here. And we decided to start a family. And Boston's also very expensive. And we just could not sustain having no help, no family to help care for our kids and all of those things that kind of come along with starting a family. So we moved back here to be closer with our family and parents. And
Okay.
then I actually went back into the acute hospital setting. So I returned to my old job here in Las Vegas, and it's one of the busiest ERs in the city. And the population that they serve is very acute, has a lot of social problems, just a lot of mental health issues come up. And so it's a very fast paced environment in this emergency room.
Oh, I can only imagine. And is that emergency room like a lot of I guess people visiting visitors? It's not a lot of the regulars, or is it a mix?
It's definitely a mix. So if you've ever been to Las Vegas, right, the strip, half of it kind of goes to one hospital and half goes to other, and both serve very acute patients. So there's a lot of homelessness, there's a lot of substance use, there's a lot of mental health issues. And then we also have our transient patient who is like just visitors who were coming in and maybe experienced a medical event.
Yeah, like overdoing it on the strip.
Overdoing it, not knowing their limits, expending themselves too much. And so that is actually when I was working there when October 1st happened. And I worked that night and then the following days with patients and victims and law enforcement.
So if people are not aware about October 1st with the Las Vegas shooting, talk about that event and what it was and kind of recap it.
So it is the largest mass shooting in the country. It occurred during a music festival. We received, offhand, I cannot recall like how many patients we served, but essentially people were just flooding to the emergency rooms because there were so many people injured, there were so many victims, and so many people did not know where their family members were.
And that remind me what year was that?
2017. So just this past week was the 8-year anniversary.
Yeah. And how would you say that changed you as someone that was there working that night? Like secondary trauma, or I don't even know if you'll have to tell me, but how did that change you as a person and as a healthcare provider?
I, I think like physically seeing that many victims, that many deceased victims
Mhm.
is just overwhelming. And all of the loss and all of the tragedy that happened on that day and then afterwards, it just changed the way what I viewed as important. Some of those things that you think are important just aren't there anymore. And it's more about creating a life that brings that joy and that meaning to you because we don't know how long it's going to be.
So is that one of the catalysts for you to break off into your own and become an entrepreneur and help with these things you're talking about, like living with joy, moving away from burnout, having a a really big life where you're not weighed down by all the heavy stuff like that. I mean, that's heavy.
So that is one of them. 2017 was a really big year for me. I was pregnant with my second child earlier in that year, and I experienced an infant loss. So she was diagnosed with trisomy 18 while I was pregnant, and that is a chromosomal disorder, kind of similar to Down syndrome, but it's life-threatening, and it is not. They consider it not compatible with life. And she was born, and shortly after she passed away. So that happened in the beginning of 2017. And then October 1 happened at the end of 2017. And I just felt like that year was huge for me in terms of personal growth. It was just a really difficult time and kind of shifted what I thought was important and how I wanted to live out the rest of my professional career, personal life, and making it more flexible and I don't know, just more like enjoyable.
Yeah.
I guess I didn't want to go to a grind, right? I didn't want to work somewhere else and not have any flexibility and not have that professional or personal autonomy. I want to be with the people who are important to me.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm sorry for your loss. Yeah, I can only imagine how hard that could be as a mother myself. So, and if you don't mind me asking, because this topic has not come up on my podcast before, but how do you, and I know other women that have gone through this, or women and men, because it wasn't obviously just your loss
Right.
and your husband. How do you honor, you said it was your daughter?
Mhm.
How do you honor her each year? And what do you do? And what's the right way and wrong way to approach this with individuals? Because as someone who has miscarried, but didn't go through the full pregnancy and give birth, people always, they try to say the right thing, but it always seems wrong. So
Yeah. Oh my gosh.
yeah,
There is not a more true statement than that. And it's sometimes really hard to lean into this idea of they're so well intended. You're like, oh, good God. But, I quickly came to this conclusion that I was going to lead my grief. I am not going to allow my grief to lead me.
wow.
And I decided that I wanted to show up as the best version of myself. Because I received that diagnosis while I was pregnant, I had a lot of time to think about it. And she didn't choose how long she was able to live for. She didn't choose to have this diagnosis that's not compatible with life, but she did deserve to have the best mom. And she did deserve someone to show up for her and give her as much as she could have. Like, I wanted to give her exactly what I gave all of my other kids. So being present, being the best version of myself, being someone who essentially she could be proud of to call her mom. So that idea was the pivotal change that made me decide, okay, I don't want to work this traditional social work life anymore. I want to move into my own business. I want to move into clinical services. I want to do more within my field because I want to be the best person I can for her.
And what was her name?
Mary.
Oh, and how many children do you have?
So I have two boys, and one older and one younger.
Okay. And they know about their sister?
Yeah, you know what? She is totally a part of our family. There are pictures of her. We talk about her. They have such a well-rounded idea on life and death now. I feel like we are really helping them be prepared in that aspect.
Yeah, that is such a great point. I mean, to these challenges that we face as adults doesn't mean we have to shield our children from it.
Correct. 100%. I am a huge advocate of tell your children the truth in age-appropriate language. That is so important to have a strong relationship with them, to have a bond, to help them best prepare for their life challenges because someone in their life is going to pass away. Someone in their life is going to face a hard time.
Absolutely. So can you give me an example, not necessarily with your daughter's passing, but like when someone does pass away that, and how do you say it in a child appropriate way? What language would you use for that?
So I think first it's important to really reflect on your family values and your family beliefs in terms of what happens to a person after they pass away. So if you believe that they're in heaven, right? That would be the language you would use. If you don't believe that, then we don't want to say that.
Mhm. Yeah.
So if you know what your family stance is, what your family beliefs are on life after death, start there. And then from there, we all know our children individually, but to be really honest and to really explain, in life, people pass away. And what that looks like is they stop breathing and they're no longer here with us. And then you can kind of add in, here is where they are. So my dad passed away a few years ago, and that was a very easy conversation for me to have with my kids because of what they know about their sister.
Yeah, absolutely. And correct me if I'm wrong, but it doesn't have to feel like a negative because you're starting with the belief of whatever that person's belief, but if they're in heaven, like it's
Correct.
not a sad thing. They're in a
Yeah.
great place.
And it doesn't have to be this awkward, very formal conversation. And that's what I like to talk to my clients about. It can just be more natural, just in the car, while we're getting ready, while we're brushing our teeth, while we're going to bed, things like that. If you kind of make those environmental adjustments, it's very helpful for parents and for the kids.
What a great point because we have this, I mean, and it might be generational, but we fall into this, okay, everyone family meeting, and then you like sit in the living room and it's like this big, like, and the air is heavy and the expectation is, okay, what bomb are they going to drop on me? But it doesn't have to be that way. And I love the language you just used right there, environmental adjustments. So as you work with your clients, or you obviously live this way, have you noticed that then the processing for the people receiving said news, the kids in this example, it's not as traumatic?
Absolutely. And it creates less feelings of anxiety, right? So every time we have this formal conversation with our parents, they're always going to have anxious feelings leading up to it because it's something big. It's something monumental, right?
Yeah.
So if we can really make some changes in just our communication, our emotional connection with our kids or partners, there's less feelings of anxiety.
Yeah. Yeah, it's such great point. So, are there any other using language that children can relate to, environmental adjustments? Are there any more pointers or in this? Maybe you call it a framework, maybe not. Maybe we're creating something right now. I don't know, but
So my other thing that I really try to tell parents or my clients, when they are working or talking to their kids, is it's okay for your kids to see undesirable feelings. It is okay for your kids to see you cry, to see you be angry. This is very normal. And so if we can show our children and model appropriate emotions and emotional regulation skills, and maybe we even apologize if we lose it afterwards, that's a really healthy strategy to expand their emotional intelligence. Versus my kid always seeing me happy. I'm not always happy. I am like my worst time of day is the evening hours. I am crazy.
oh, Sarah, me too. That is not my zone of genius. Is not the nighttime.
Right. I'm great at 5 in the morning. I'm great at 6 in the morning.
Oh,
Not at 7 p.m. when we're trying to get things done.
exactly. So I want to underscore this because I don't know if you experience this, but I didn't see my parents fight very often or cry. I remember my dad crying when my grandma died, but I remember being scared, because I didn't see that often. And so what you're suggesting here would take the fear out of it because it makes sense. If your father died, which is their grandfather, or when he did pass, to see you cry would be normal and to role model that. So they're not as scared potentially. Is that what I guess I mean without surveying the kids, which probably
Yeah.
is that what
Yeah, that's exactly it. It's just normalizing all feelings, not just the pleasant ones.
Yes. That's such a great tip as well. Um, so you talk about your clients. So talk to me about let's talk about the businesses. Like, tell everyone the name of it, like what type of clients you're serving, what the niche is, like, who is this for grief only, or is this for parenting? Tell us all the things you want to. I'm intrigued to hear more.
Sure. So I own a private practice. It is called Say It Mental Health. We are licensed here in Las Vegas, in Nevada, and then also in Montana. And I specialize in working with high achieving women who are in overdrive.
Mm.
So a lot of my clients are really struggling to implement boundaries. They have a history of people pleasing. They are just overcommitting and doing so much. But they also are saying, I'm fine, or were often referred to as the good girl in their childhood.
Hmm.
Right.
Oh yeah. So let's talk about this because oh yeah, I've fell prey to this overcommitting. So
Yeah.
why is it that you see that women are overcommitting themselves? Like just your professional or personal opinion?
100% it's tied to their self-worth.
Yeah. And how do you work with someone how do you help build a woman build their self-worth up?
So, first, it's really clarifying what their beliefs are related to their self worth, like really helping them reflect and identify, okay, this is how I gained my self worth through my childhood, through my teenage years, through my young adult life. And this is how it's showing up in most of my clients are probably in the ages of 30 to 40s.
Mhm.
So it's really showing up now and creating problems for them, right? They're just having difficulty sleeping, physical problems, low sex drive, interpersonal issues. All of those things are now coming up and they're realizing this isn't working.
So I love the name of the business, Say It Mental Health, because what it implies is that a lot of times people aren't saying it.
Right. They're not advocating for themselves.
Is there common themes you're seeing? And I ask this because I quit drinking 5 years ago, and in my opinion, that is a mental health issue,
Mhm.
and it's really hard in our culture to talk about it publicly.
Yeah, absolutely.
There's a stigma attached to it, but I said, screw it, I'm going to talk about it. And I mean, by being an advocate in this space and outspoken and influencing others and have my own coaching business around helping other individuals reduce or remove alcohol, it has allowed me to live my most authentic life. So, what are the things you're seeing that people aren't saying? That, I mean, are there common, like, is people coming and talking about, I don't like my relationship with alcohol, or my sex drive is low? Are there common threads, or are they all different things?
So I think the most popular thing that comes up is people have a really hard time saying no to their families or their most important people in their lives. So they're overcommitting in that area out of this feeling of obligation or shame or not to be that good girl that did everything and was amenable to their family needs.
Hmm. Isn't it interesting that saying no is so hard?
It is, and I mean, it is so hard. And I will say, I'm a recovering people pleaser. I would say no or say yes all of the time. And then I'd be lying awake at night feeling resentful and irritated and not wanting to do any of these things.
Yeah. It's interesting because people pleasing often gets a bad rap, right? Like it's a bad thing to be a people pleaser, but I also think it shows that you just care about people and the relationships too. So there's always two sides to every coin. So do you still find yourself though, you care about people, want to be around people, you're just more willing to say no if you don't want to do it?
Right. Absolutely. And kind of knowing, okay, do I have a hard line or what does that look like? And I think it's really about listening to your like gut feeling and your response. I can say yes to 70% of the things that I get asked to do, but there are 30% of those things that I just need to say no because I need to care for myself first so I can show up for that other 70%.
Hmm. So how do you see your clients? Because it's in Nevada and Montana. And so and why just those two states? Explain the business side of that and how that works for you.
So in Nevada, I see clients in person and virtually. And Montana, I see clients virtually only. I I'm not 100% certain on if one day I will have an office in Montana. I think that is kind of a 5 to 10 year goal. I would like to do that. Maybe go up there twice a month and eventually like live up there part time. But definitely, I like the flexibility of being able to offer people virtual sessions. I think that's really helpful for my population. Most of my clients, they're employed in some capacity. They have families most of the times. And so their schedule is limited and virtual really allows me to see them when they can. So I'm like more than willing to see clients early in the morning on their lunch breaks to kind of make it work for them. My goal is for therapy to be helpful for these people.
Right. And not to always need you.
Right. No, oh, not to always need me. I always tell people therapy does not need to be forever. This isn't like a lifetime commitment. Let's just kind of help you through this hurdle. And then I'm there as needed.
Exactly. That's why I say as a coach. Let's talk about the difference between coaching and therapy. How do you see it? If people are, there's the licenses and such, I will say
Yeah.
like that's one big difference, but just, do you see a space for both? Because I have clients that do both. So
Oh, absolutely. I think that coaching has such a purpose in this space and in our communities. I think it's so helpful. I find that coaching really helps us with some of those like tangible tasks, right? It helps us be held accountable with those action items. And therapy, we can utilize different modalities and treatments to help us work through our underlying beliefs, our past trauma, our emotional well-being. But coaching is like pushing us. And I like that. I think that people can benefit from both.
yeah, I would talk about too, like coaching is like looking through the windshield where therapy can be like looking through the rearview mirror
Yeah,
at times because you're unpacking a lot of stuff. Would you agree with that statement?
absolutely. Mhm.
Yeah. And you coach women.
I'm a therapist for women. Yes.
Okay. Or therapist. I'm sorry. I'm the coach. You're the therapist. I'm giving you another job, Sarah. Therapist for women. So, and okay, so we talked about the top, how you and I got connected through Cassidy. So talk to me about how social media plays a role in building your business.
So this is a new venture for me in 2025. I was trying to find more ways to market, and there is definitely a space on Instagram. That's the primary platform that I'm using to market myself outside of some of those traditional networking opportunities, traditional like Psychology Today, which is like a listing site for a therapist. I wanted to just kind of focus on telling people about my niche, telling people about why these clients are important for me, why I like to work with this type of individual. And I just felt like Instagram was the space. But I also knew that I was not skilled in this area. Like social media is a beast and all of the things that go into it were overwhelming. So I had like been thinking about this probably all last year, looked and tried to connect with other social media management companies, and they never felt like the right fit. And then when I met Cassidy, it just felt right. Like she felt like she understood my message. It was just such a good vibe since the beginning, our first conversation.
Yeah, and this isn't an area, correct me if I'm wrong on this too. This isn't an area where you typically see people marketing and advertising.
Right.
You're forward thinking in that sense. At least I haven't seen that. I mean, I'd have to be looking, but where you're really like, this is an opportunity for me to get my services out there because sometimes there's this stigma around therapy too, like, oh, it needs to be a secret, but no.
Yeah. No, it doesn't. And those were even things that I had to work through myself, right? So I knew my family and friends were going to be seeing my Instagram account and really putting myself out there and really kind of putting out there, what my clients are going through. So I just kind of worked through that. And I said, people are going to resonate with this. Like I was really confident that my message is strong and there's a need for the population that I'm going to serve. And so I just decided to do it.
Yeah, that can be really uncomfortable. I mean, I'm in the same space, like putting myself
for sure. I just went to a family wedding and multiple family members brought it up to me and I was just like, yeah, like it's a marketing strategy and I'm putting myself out there.
And has it been good feedback or are they like, what are you doing?
Well, I will say most of the feedback's really positive, right? So I'll get some suggestions or some people just kind of being like, what's your actual goal? And then when I explain, my goal is conversion, right? My goal is to access potential clients and convert them to be my client.
Right. And I want to talk about this because I went through a very similar exercise of interviewing agencies over, I want to say last 6 months or 8 months. And this is not an inexpensive endeavor.
No, it is not. It is definitely an investment financially.
And it can be scary because it's hard. The conversion is so important. Like you were talking about, like converting, putting yourself out there. That's one thing. And and it goes back to that self-worth piece. Like to continually put yourself out there. So there's the self-worth, and then there's like the financial side. And so, and then seeing like, okay, are the conversions in, is there an ROI on this? So would you say thus far what you're seeing, and boy, Cassie's probably listening to this one as I ask this question, are you achieving the goals you have set out thus far?
Yeah. So I started June 1st with Cassidy. That's when our first post went out. And I have absolutely seen a growth in many different areas, not even just retaining clients, but just kind of getting my brand out there and the opportunities that are coming to me because my brand is having more of a presence on social media.
Yeah, that's really cool. Do you see yourself expanding into other platforms like TikTok or LinkedIn or?
So I am on LinkedIn and Facebook. I'm not opposed to TikTok. That feels like so far different to me, right? Like I definitely am from the generation of Instagram and that's what I know. But I'm not opposed to it. At this point, I'm not going to say no to anything. I'm going to keep trying and I'm going to keep putting my message out there, putting my brand out there because I have goals and I want to achieve big things. And I believe you can only achieve those things if you do something. People who sit down are not going to achieve their goals.
Absolutely. Oh, 100%. Were you intentional about hiring someone that was a woman in this space, or were you open to anything?
No, I definitely was intentional about it. Mm-hmm. I had worked with a website development company as well, and they are female owned. And I just really wanted to stay on that track. I want to be their cheerleader. I want them to succeed as much as I feel like they want me to succeed.
Yeah, you and I are very much, and I had a feeling that was your answer, not because I'm clairvoyant or anything, but because, I could just tell it's about lifting women up and an abundance mindset. Like there's enough space for everyone. And that's how I feel as well. I mean, obviously I have the podcast, but like when I'm hiring my marketing person, my social media team, my real estate agent, I mean, it's all women, and I have nothing against men at all. I mean, I have a son.
Yeah, I don't feel like I do either. I have no feelings negatively about male-owned businesses, but I want to like cheer up these women who are putting themselves out there because I feel like you're being vulnerable.
It's so hard. It's so hard to be vulnerable. So while we're talking about women in, so I named this podcast Women In ... on purpose because I work in pro sports for my day job, but I want to hear how you would fill in those dots for you. And that I started with sports, but then I wanted to expand it out because I'm like, no, I want women and men on this podcast of all different identities. So how would you fill in those dots for you?
I was thinking about this because I had listened to some of your previous podcasts and I was like, how am I going to answer that question? So I really feel strongly about women in self-investment. So I think we need to invest in ourselves and nobody else is going to do that except for yourself. And investing is a really big deal. So it can be your emotional well-being, your physical well-being, your financial well-being, all of that. But invest in yourself.
I could not agree more. I always tell people, like, if you don't have an executive coach, and it's not just because I am one, I'm also a lifestyle coach, get one because it is so worth the investment.
Yeah, I agree.
Become the best version of yourself because a coach, a therapist, they can see what you can't.
Right. And they're a neutral party, right? So they don't have like this emotional tie to me like my husband does, my mom does, my aunt or sister does, right? So it's really nice to have that neutral input.
Speaking of your aunts and your sisters and your mom and all these wonderful women in your life, who are the women that have helped shape the woman you are today?
I have met so many incredible people in my personal life and my professional life, starting with my mom. She has just really been someone who has had such a strong work ethic, and she was a former business owner. And so I feel like that was kind of my first snapshot impression of what a woman can do and how hard you can work to achieve what you want. Mm-hmm. And then professionally, I've had the best clinical mentors, from my direct supervisor, from a group practice clinical director that I work with sometimes. They have just really shaped me to who I am. And I have a business coach, and she's incredible and really have given me expanders, right? People who are expanding my professional scope. And I love that.
That's awesome. And you have a sister or sisters?
I have one sister.
One sister. All right. And
Yeah.
older or younger?
She's younger. She's 7 years younger than me.
Oh, wow. So
Yeah.
did it feel like you had like a little baby doll when she was first born?
A little bit, yes. Yeah,
And then
definitely a little bit.
did she get annoying as you got older and you're like, I want my space?
Absolutely. We definitely followed that like traditional trajectory of age gap siblings.
And now you're close.
Yeah.
Oh, that's phenomenal. I love that. So are you someone that loves to, it sounds to me, again, I don't want to assume, but that you love to learn.
I do.
So what books are you reading or podcasts are you listening to that you'd recommend?
So I am an audiobook fan. I am a diehard. I spend a lot of time taking my kids to sport activities. I sit in a lot of parking lots. And so I usually try to read like one professional development or personal development book a month.
Mm-hmm.
And then I like love to fill that gap with rom-coms, like smutty stuff, like whatever, like things that are just like enjoyable. Not everything needs to be heavy and hard.
We were just talking about smutty books in the office today.
I'm here for it.
Okay, well, I've got one for you.
What is it?
It's called Puckin' Around.
Oh, I've read that.
You read it. Oh, okay.
Emily Rath.
Yes.
Yeah, that. I think that was probably like my first book that I was like, oh, wow, okay.
I mean, so one of my friends, because I work in pro hockey, she's like, Tony, you got to read this. And I'm like, okay. And she goes, it's about an NHL team in Jacksonville, Florida. And I said, well, there is a hockey team in Jacksonville. It's not an NHL team. It's an ECHL team, which is the league the Kalamazoo Wings play in. I said, but I know it's fiction. So, and she's like, no, you are going to want to read this. And I'm like, yeah. And I downloaded on my Kindle app and I'm like, God, this thing's long. I've almost done. It's been 5 days.
I know, it's addicting. And then there's like second books in that series.
There are?
Oh yeah, there's more.
Okay, so if anyone is like wondering why we're so not maybe verklempt, you'll want to read this book because and if you are how do I want to say this? If you're shy about this kind of smutty stuff, don't read this book.
I agree, 100%. But if you're open, it's a great book. It's a great read.
And it's not all about just the smut. Like I want to know what happens at the end. I really do.
I agree. And I also like the social work in me, the accepting of all people. Like I love that. I want everybody to be happy and I want you to live your most authentic life. So if that is what this book is about, then just be who you are.
Well, that's how I feel too about everything in life. And I totally agree because I'm actually learning things in this book, like different language, and without Sarah and I giving out, they're like, what are you talking about? Although maybe everyone's like, yeah, Tony, we read that book like you were. I can't. Yeah. But I'm learning things too, which I love. So
I agree.
Okay.
So, to answer your first question, my current like professional development book I am reading just came out, I think like 2 weeks ago, The Signs by Dr. Tara Swart.
Okay.
It is a very good, very easy, like 5-hour audiobook. I'm kind of halfway through right now. It's really about trusting your instincts. And it's great. I love it. I think you should check it out.
I will put it on I read my age every year. I'm sure if you listen to podcasts, I talk about that, but I'm going to hit it this month, 47 books, but I got a lot more year left. So.
Perfect.
Do you listen to podcasts too, besides mine?
So I do something, I feel like I go through these waves, right? Like, so sometimes I'm like really committed to certain podcasts. And then sometimes I'm like falling in a deep hole of not listening to anything. So I kind of vary.
Yeah. Is there one that when you get into it, you're like, and it doesn't even have to be something you're learning. Like I get into true crime. So,
I've actually never listened to a true crime podcast. But I have so many people who do love to listen to it. Yeah. So I will say right now I'm so focused on kind of like doing things for work that I'm just trying to figure out the name of it. The podcast I've been listening to is The Business of Therapy. Oh. And that has just been really helpful in just kind of like keeping me up and making sure I feel like I'm kind of doing everything I'm trying to achieve.
Yeah. Well, because it's ever evolving. There's lots to learn.
It is evolving. And coming from a clinical background, no one in my educational history prepared me to own a business. So this is all new and kind of working through all of these questions I have either comes from like educating myself, talking with people, taking a deep dive.
What do you think the hardest part is about owning your own business that you kind of surprises you?
I think, you know, I think the shit, like initially probably would have said like managing the financial component, right? Not knowing how to do that when I first entered. Um, but I think now is I want to really stay aligned to what my value system and what I want this business to be. So I think it's very easy to get sidetracked and to look for these opportunities to get like a lot of clients or quickly convert clients, but they're not really the fit that I'm looking for.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, that goes to what you're saying, like saying no sometimes to
Yeah.
potential clients. I call them on my website chemistry calls, just because there is a lot of chemistry involved in this. And it's okay
Right.
that it might not feel right. I don't take offense to it. So,
Right. So I like so desperately want it to grow, right? Like this is
mhm.
everything I'm putting into it. But I don't think I want to sacrifice what my goal is to just have that growth and that conversion. And so sometimes that can be like a little hard, right? Like I want my bank account to grow up,
Mhm.
but
Well, and being an entrepreneur is like round the clock because your brain doesn't turn off and you're like thinking of ideas and stuff. And then you're like, oh, do I implement this or not? I mean, I'm constantly battling that.
yeah.
So how do you believe in work-life balance? I know burnout's part of the work you do and helping women in that space. And how do you balance it all, or do you believe in it?
So I don't actually believe in the word balance because I don't think it exists, right? So regardless of what you're doing, you're giving up somewhere else in your life.
Yeah.
And I think it just is really important to be reflective and to really know what brings me joy and what are my priorities. Yes, my priorities is growing my business, but my kids and my husband and my little family here are equally as important. So sometimes I do have to say no to a work event or a networking opportunity, something like that, because being home and helping my kids with their homework or sitting at lacrosse practice or doing all of these things is more important because I need to show up as their best mom because I value being a parent and it's my biggest job to do that.
Yeah. It's why it's an important exercise. If people haven't done this, like really truly evaluating their core values are, it'll
Right.
help you make decisions in terms of where you spend your time.
Right. And it helps you understand what are these unhelpful belief systems that maybe I have that were kind of just ingrained in me from my formative years.
Exactly. I love talking about this because we are programmed as we grow up, by the
Absolutely.
people around us. And so to really question those beliefs and do I really feel this way just because my parents did or my siblings did or my
Right.
teachers or whoever.
Yeah. It takes a lot of courage and vulnerability.
Yes. Yeah, it sure does. All right, two more questions. What have you changed your mind about recently?
So I will say I changed my mind professionally and kind of the vision I saw for my business. I at one point just wanted to have this really large group practice with other therapists working under me.
Mm.
And in the beginning of this year, probably in the first quarter, I realized I actually don't really want to manage people. I don't really want to do that. And I don't really want to have this large office space. I want to grow my own brand and I want to reach these other milestones and these other goals. And so I'm just going to invest in myself versus investing in all of these other clinicians that I could have.
Yeah, I totally get that. Yeah, I've thought about scaling my coaching business and I'm like, nope.
Yeah. Yeah.
And the power of those two little letters, N-O, one of the exercises I give my clients is to say no to one thing per week. And I always follow up with them. Did you say no to something? And it's hard. It's easy. It's not easy to do that.
It is not easy. And I always tell people start small. Start with when your partner says, I want this food place for dinner, and you don't really want it. Start with something small and gear up to those bigger no's.
Such a great piece. And it seems so obvious, but that's not how our brain works. We're like, no, I got to go for the big no and tell my boss
Yeah.
I'm not going to
Wherever. Yep.
wherever. Yeah, I'm not going on that trip or something huge, So, Sarah, where can people find? I mean, talk about Instagram because we want to pump that up.
Yes.
You're doing some great work there. Your website. Where can people find you if they want to connect with you?
Absolutely. So follow along on Instagram at Say It Mental Health. And then you can also feel free to check out my website, sayitmentalhealth.com. I have some resources to help people say no on there that they can download, and potentially contact me if they're interested in starting services if they're here in Las Vegas or in Montana.
Awesome. Sarah, it's been such a pleasure to get to know you. And
so nice chatting with you.
Yeah, this has been fun. And best of luck on your continued growth. I have no doubt that you're going to be successful. If you guys are looking for me, I'm not hard to find. The hockey side of my life is at kwings.com. And then everything else related to my coaching business, Empower Her 2026, my book coming out in Q1 is at tonywill.com. And until next time.